Good day and welcome to another episode of the Point 99 podcast. The end of the season is fast approaching, but I'm not letting up. It's full steam ahead with two fantastic guests coming up in episode 9 and episode 10, the finale. On the topic of fantastic guests, I am, as always, joined by one today. The fabulous Kilsyth runner Bob Burrell is stepping up to the plate. So far, the chats this season have been stretching, and today is no different. As expected though, it was a great chat with Bob, and we covered a wide variety of topics, from his formative steps into running through to what the future might hold, as well as the amazing work that Bob does with the community and much more. I'll try to get to the chat as speedily as I can, but let's roll the intro and get into the core of the happenings for the past week. The Point 99 podcast is a running podcast created by runners for runners. If you're new to running or to the podcast, we hope to have topics, discussions, and guests that will help you along whatever path your journey is taking. Or for any seasoned runners and listeners, maybe some stories that will have you empathizing with our experiences and predicaments. Whether it's lessons we've learned during our own journeys, embarrassing stories, or heartstring pulling moments. We hope you'll stick with us while we try share some good vibes, motivation, and positivity. And hopefully we can have a laugh along the way. In my world of running, it was business as usual, or at least that's what Sarah Homer would make it seem. But it was another PB this week, this time in my half marathon distance. Look, being completely honest, it wasn't planned whatsoever. I set out for a run at a nice steady pace for a half distance, even putting on my slowest shoes. Slow did, however, mean steady, ticking the legs over quite nicely on some gentle elevation to kick things off, stopping to take a nice photo at the peak of my run before gaining the benefits of the downhill on the return leg. It was a 3-minute drop in my half marathon time, and it's built my confidence up nicely for the strapping on of Nike Vaporflies and hitting the Inverness half marathon in March. With the half marathon in mind, well, it's going to be where we celebrate the first birthday for the podcast. We officially turned 1 in February, as the original trailer was published on the 11th of February this year, with work beginning earlier in the month. The first official pod then came out a couple of weeks later, making it near March anyway, so it's all going to work out quite nicely. There are a couple of familiar faces planning to make an appearance at the Inverness half for either the half marathon distance or the 5-kilometre race. So I'm sure I can put my hand in my pocket for a round or even get some cake for the end of the run. Where the community are concerned, it seems to have been a fairly quiet week on the event calendar front. That's not to say you weren't all smashing it with your own running, but it was a fairly flat medal Monday. But then it is to be expected as we come into the off-season for road running, or the fun, muddy season for the cross-country runners. Where there is a hole for event shout-outs, it's gonna be suitably filled with the community shout-outs. After the great response of episode 7's supplement question, I followed it up with a call for some shout outs from the community back at others within the community, casting a spotlight on those you feel deserve more praise and positive attention. Once again, the response has been fantastic, with a mixed bag of responses from simply individual names, but through to the reasons why they're being shouted out as well. We're kicking things off first with TJ I Run for shirts and medals, and she's shouting out Andrea, quite similarly named, I Stop to Pet Dogs. And she's shouting out Andrea for completing a 50-mile event. That's no mean feat. That's pretty hard going. So massive congratulations to Andrea, and a spotlight being cast on her. I'm definitely going to go check out her. I think I follow her, but I'm going to definitely go check her out again. Bob Burrell, the Kilsyth runner, obviously our guest for today's episode, is shouting at Natalie Hunter at Natalie Hunter 1888 for her fantastic pacing work at races. Chris Evans, chris.runs.a.lap. He wants to firstly shout myself out. Thank you very much, Chris. But also Water of Leith Half by Blast Running. So by proxy, Blast Running, where he'll be running with Emily and Matt. That's Matt Goes Running from EH3. He's also added Giz, Nick, Dad Joking Low, Look at Runshine on Leith, and Serena Broadway on her marshalling duties. Ryan Miller, the Scottish _runner, wants to shout out Ultra Linny for leading without fear and showing up for the hashtag party at the back crew. Next, we have Runnerman Steve making an appearance back to the podcast. He firstly wants to shout myself out. Again, thank you very much. And this is where I did put out a video on the stories to ask people not to shout me out, because it wasn't about me. It's about casting a spotlight on other people in the community and yourselves. Thank you very much, Steve. And he's saying he wants to kind of shout me out for picking up the pod solo and making it even stronger. I do miss you, buddy, but I just have to do what I have to do. He goes on to shout himself out, though, for being a bloody legend. And I will second that. Tanya Carmona at Tanya Runs _the world. She's changed her handle since we've had her on. She wants to shout herself out because she feels she needs to redeem herself from the last episode. I don't know what she means by that, but I can confirm we will be seeing a return for Tanya in season 4 as we learn a little bit more about how her running's gone since she was on, what events she's been doing, and what she has coming up in the future. Geese Fowler, Geese with many underscores on the run, wants to shout out Lee because he is all sorts of amazing. That's Control-Alt-Delete, otherwise known as Uncle Lee. You guys know my thoughts on Lee, so I am, of course, seconding that. Stuart Rowan has a whole list of people here that Stuart runs a lot. So we're going to go through the names here. I've added on their handles as well. First up, we have Ian. Ian with many underscores again. Ian runs and cycles. We've got Nikki, Knickknack Mara runs. Kaylee, the Happy Diet. Ryan, Scottish _runner. Jamie _runs. He's also shouting at myself. Once again, thank you very much. You're too kind, sir. Emily in the outdoors. Alison Jardine, Scottish marathon girl. Patrick Watkins, P Watkins _13. And of course, the lady who really kind of cast the best spotlight on the podcast from the get-go, Susan Swarbrick-Dimick. As I say, there was no reasons why there, but nobody in that list needs a reason why. Maybe me, but everyone else are complete legends within the community. So as with everyone else, I second those completely. We then have Patrick Watkins himself is asking, how does he shout out the host? Thank you very much. Again, it wasn't about me, it's about you guys, but I do appreciate the love. Uncle Lee, he's in the chat here wanting to shout out a return to Giz. So he says, Giz for organising a meetup for Elodie's birthday. That looked fantastic. I think that was at Pleen Park Run. It did look like a good old meetup and birthday bash for Elodie. So I don't think I got the opportunity at the time. I was busy, but happy belated birthday, Elodie. If you are listening, it did look like you had a fantastic one. Then finally, Jack GDBZ wants to shout himself out for his 2,740 kilometre megathon challenge for next year. So I'll be watching that, Jack, to see how you get on, and we will shout you out throughout the process as well. Stuart Rowan has actually lined up a cracker of a question to ask for episode 9 going into episode 10, which left me a little bit stumped as to what I was going to ask for this week, but it's also inspired me at the same time. So this week, I want to know what events you are looking forward to most in 2024. It can be any distance, it can be any goal, even if it's just cheer squad duties. What events are getting you giddy? You might not even have signed up for them yet, but drop them in the stories and DMs when they are up. Let me know what you are looking forward to the most. But from community shout outs to a key figure in not only the Instagram running community, but the Kilsyth running community and beyond. Of course, it's Bob Burrell. It's a pretty lengthy one today, but it was great to have Bob's take on everything from the do's and don'ts of distance running, his formative steps with running, all the way through to what the future might hold, as well as his work with runners of all ages and abilities. Let's get stuck in and welcome the man himself to the show. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by the man who can easily be described as the biggest cheerleader for many, if not everyone in the running community. His tireless support and positivity to many, including myself, is truly inspirational. I've had the pleasure of meeting him briefly at the Edinburgh Marathon and can testify that he is equally as positive in person as he is online. However, when he's not cheering on complete strangers on the internet, he's helping real life people attain real life goals through his work with the Kilsyth runners, making a huge difference to people's lives. But from his community service, the good kind, to a solo smashing in a range of different distances from 5K all the way through to marathons and beyond. Let's get on to finding out more about what makes this legend tick. Welcome to the Kilsyth runner himself, Bob Burrell.
Big build up there.
I forget to breathe sometimes when I'm reading them.
See, I do that sometimes when I'm running. It's definitely helps when you breathe. Absolutely.
Yeah, it helps to breathe and run, doesn't it? Yes.
It's one of the key things, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean because it's trying to get that right rhythm, and I've not got it with reading the intros yet. I think I'm there with running. I think I am, but
Then big breath, relax, and just go.
yes. So you've had a good week so far?
Um, yeah, it's a kind of busy week running and family life, which can sometimes impact my running. I was running with or working with even the runner coach app up until last week. But I've decided I think I've been with them for about a year now, and I was decided now I need to step away from it. Fantastic app, because I was involved in the kind of ambassadorship and testing of it. I felt like I can't be trusted. I was like a child, and I kept chopping and changing my plans and playing about with it too much because I had free reign to do anything. So I thought I need to be properly focused and start working with a proper coach again, I think. So
Nice. So have you got a coach lined up already?
I'm in conversation with someone to do some coaching. It's not nailed on yet, but I'm quite excited about it.
It's
So
like the transfer market in football by the sounds of it.
yeah, it's I thought that's a name dropper, so I'm trying not to until I'm kind of.
Now, just between you and me, is it someone that you've mentioned to me recently
Ooh, don't
for
think
as a
so.
future guest? No,
Oh no.
no.
It would
Okay,
be
that's fine.
it would be some guest right enough, but no, it's not.
Okay. Well, I'll have to wait and see then. We'll have to watch this space and find out who
Oh,
you're
I feel
with.
like I've just built up something that's no one's really that interested in.
Oh, no, knowing you though, Bob, the way you'll announce it, it will be spectacular anyway.
Oh, unless they tell me not to say anything. Yeah, so apart from that, that was kind of, I was hoping to get it started, but it's kind of stalled a little bit. So this week I thought I'll just do the Garmin suggested workouts,
Okay.
um, which is every day so far. It's been, oh, you had a terrible sleep. We suggest you do a 30-minute recovery run every day. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I
Well,
don't know if that's telling me that I should be recovering more, but it's not really working for me. I'm like,
but when you're working and you've got family and you're running as well, and everything that goes into that, you're not going to get the best sleep. So it's going to be a vicious cycle, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, which I know that listen to your body and stuff, but I'm kind of like, I need to get some proper running done. So I got a good run on Tuesday night with my Kilsyth runners. We've got the first group we've done. We're up to 2.5 miles and going towards the 3.1 miles or 5K, whichever. We won't even start that conversation. You can have them online.
Well, since you've mentioned it, which one do you go? You obviously go by miles then.
I'm a miles man,
You're a
yeah.
miles man.
I used to be kilometers until I started marathon training, and then that's when I flipped over, and I've never went back.
I
Um,
suppose you've got that best of both worlds then because you can do the conversion.
just about, yeah. I do I know my 3.1 and my 6.2. After that, yeah, we're into
It,
miles.
try do that during a marathon when you're running in kilometers and they don't have kilometers on. You're
Oh
trying to
no,
do the conversions.
no, thanks. I know people like to do their marathon, they know it's the 26 miles, but they break it up into 5Ks or 10Ks, and I'm like, oh, stressful stuff. Try to do the sums.
I did that with Amsterdam, but not for distance wise. It was for nutrition because I had the Voom energy bars and something that Runnerman Steve had said many moons ago
Hmm.
was he takes his gels and his nutrition around about every 7 kilometers. And since he said that, I've been doing it and it works a treat for me. So that's how I broke my marathon. If I did it on every 7 kilometers, if I was in miles, I'd probably work the same, but I don't know if it'd work quite so well in my head.
Yeah, see, I've set my watch up to beep at me every 40 minutes. Um, so that's whether I'm marathon running or not. It's just if I'm on a long run, then it'll beep at 40 minutes. I've got all right, just to keep me training my stomach as well as my legs kind of thing. So if I'm out long every 40 minutes, it'll beep and I'll take my gel or take my energy chews. I've found out recently they're quite good alternative.
So is that? I don't think I meant. I don't think we discussed anything. That was that energy chews. Is that to do with your brand ambassadorship now, the one you've recently taken, or is that completely different?
It was actually before that all came in.
Okay,
So it was Vela Forte. It was actually on Ryan's
right.
charity retreat. There was in his bag there was some. Something I've looked at, but I always thought the chews there wasn't many carbs in them, so I thought of not much point. But these ones, it was good. The way it was working out, it was like I could take one every mile, and that would space out my carbs rather than just try to
Mm.
dump a full gel down me every 40 minutes. Because sometimes I try to just sip it away like a drink, just take it kind of little and often with my gel, but you don't really want to carry it. So you get to a stage where you just try to dump it and then your stomach just goes, oh no, not
Yeah.
happy with that. But with the chews, they seem to be a bit of a game changer for me. It's something I'm definitely going to look at for my next marathon training block to see if I can incorporate them. But there is so much choice these days. That's why it's, as you mentioned there, my ambassadorship for X Miles. It's quite good that they're going to be sending me different things to review and trial, and it'll kind of really open up a lot for me, which hopefully I can then share with my followers to let them know what I think. And yeah, they're good.
Good. No, it's a big. You're right. There's so much in the market, and I know I've got the Active Root ambassadorship.
Hmm.
But I use everything. I use for gel wise. I do use Active Root, but I use that more for trails because of the consistency, the thickness,
Yeah,
ability to make it a little bit thicker. Because I find that helps a lot. Whereas science and sport and high five, personally for me, I find that better when I'm on the road.
yeah,
And I know I could make Active Root a lot thinner, a lot more watery. But in some respects, I like the balance of having everything. And I know I'm spending money, but at the end of the day, it's running. You're going to spend money on something. Better being on something that's actually going to give you the best out of your run.
yeah. Well, it's such a personal thing as well. Not just in how your stomach's going to take to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's do you like the consistency of it? Do you like the flavour of it? Do you actually feel it's giving you a boost or giving you the energy? So you have to try all the different ones and see. No point just going, oh, I'll go for SIS because it's in the sale kind of thing. It might not work for you. You have to.
Yeah, exactly. Or you see it down in the little in the central aisle because as it says on the sale, or it's cheaper.
It's
Yeah,
got it's got a short date on them, but we'll just go for it anyway. And it's yeah. Whereas you've got the other end of the spectrum, you've got like the Morton gels, which have got it's a hydrogel, so it's got absolute different consistency altogether.
yeah.
But they are good though. But I personally couldn't afford to train with it. They're very expensive.
Are they the ones that Kipchoge uses, the black packets?
Yes,
Yeah.
but because they're elite, they don't run about with gels. Usually they've got that mixed into their drinks bottle that they can pick up and drink it and toss it every 5K or whatever they get. The privileges of being an elite. Yeah.
That was something I noticed because it was the very first time. You don't really get that at Edinburgh, and you certainly don't get it at Loch Ness. But to see the table full of the bottles that some of them didn't even pick up
Yeah.
was was really strange. It was that kind of surreal thing of, well, it must be amazing to be an elite and have that capability of having effectively a bag drop. They're like ultra running marathoners.
Yeah. Because I've seen it was it Philly Bowden? She was going to do Valencia Marathon um recently, and she couldn't get an elite place in it, so she didn't do it. She's training for an Olympic qualifying time. But because she would have to then carry her own fuel because she wasn't getting an elite place, so she decided she wasn't going to run it because the difference in time for her being able to pick up her drinks and
Mm-hmm.
having to carry everything herself says it wasn't going to be the right race for her. But it just shows you the um all the wee 1% and stuff like that everyone has to work to. It's
Yeah, yeah, and it's all those times that can make such a big difference to your qualification time, or just that
absolutely
extra second on a kilometer or second on a
exactly.
mile. All right, we'll take it back then to from away from where we're kind of heading just there with what you're doing on your current running and your progression, and we'll take it back to where you started out, if that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Can you tell us a little bit about the beginnings of Bob in the world of running?
in the world of running, well, it was basically 2012. I ended up backstaying with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what would that have been like 30-year-old, 31-year-old backstaying with my parents? I was then drinking and partying too much and pretty much on a slippery slope, to be honest. So I decided I need to get another hobby. So I joined the gym at the end of October. In fact, that was the gym induction was the morning after a Halloween party. So I turned up to my gym induction um, with eye makeup on. I was dressed as a female the night before. So I dressed up in makeup, hadn't really slept, probably still smelling a drink. And lucky enough, it was my cousin that was taking the induction. So she abused me, then ended up throwing me into a circuit class as punishment, which I had to leave halfway through as I thought I was going to be sick. So that was a bit of a wake up call. So I was like, right, what else can I do as well as the gym? And then that's when I started thinking, right, I'll get running as well to supplement it. So I was around about January, started signing up for Tough Mudders, Mighty Deer Stalker, 5Ks, 10Ks. But probably still partying hard and training hard with like no kind of structure. Um, Picking up all sorts of injuries, but continuing to train. I think I even broke my foot playing football at one point, but still done like the Glasgow 10K in my cast boot and all stupid things like that. It's like, yeah, what are you doing, man? But I think that at the time it was kind of self-medicating between training and drinking, probably. Um, I mean, protein shakes during the day as if you're an athlete, and then a bottle of wine at night, which you can't really. It's not a sustainable existence. But yeah, it was more social stuff. So I wasn't out there trying to like beast my 5K time or my 10K time. It was just more what we all signing up for, guys, and then we'll go out after it and all that kind of carry on. But I did eventually grow up and settle down uh, when I met my wife. So that was like in 2014. But I was still kind of, in terms of fitness and training wise, I was doing all sorts of training. I even don't know if you've heard of ICW, the wrestling.
Oh
So I was,
yes, okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I was, I'd done a spell of training with them and graduated through their training program. It was just, yeah, it was just absolute scattergun in terms of fitness and what I was doing. It's like just try to do everything, but not really mastering anything. Uh, but that was at the point, like 2015, when I signed up for, or tried to sign up for the London Marathon through the ballot. Wasn't successful. But then managed to get a charity place, and I think that's when everything really changed for me in terms of running.
It gave you
Um,
a big goal to kind of work towards and just changed your mindset completely.
yeah, but I still my training for it was, but looking back, it was shocking. Like you just don't know what you're doing. In terms of my long runs, my volume was terrible. I just had picked, I think it was just like the what looked like the easiest training course online. Uh, yeah, the I thought I could just turn up and run a sub four based on absolute nothing. There was no markers to indicate that's what I could do. But looking online, I was like, that sounds like a good goal. Um, yeah, crashed and burned. Wasn't a Well, it's quite an emotional experience, but it's one that after I finished, I was like, I need to go back there and do that again. And ever since, that's been my goal to return to London on merit and do it properly. And that's what keeps spurring me on. I just want to return.
You get a good fridge for London, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
So my good for age time for London just now would be 3 hours, 5 minutes.
Wow.
So for a buffer, you're still looking at the sub three.
Yeah.
Um, which
Wow.
is it's a huge goal. But when I look at people that have done it, I'm like, well, they have done it. Why can't I do it if I was to properly focus on it? Um,
And you know, that's not the strangest thing to think about. Because when I started running, that was a mantra that I had in my head because I had friends that aren't athletes, they're not runners at all, but they were running at the time. And I wasn't. And I kept saying to myself, I was going around the park runs and I was struggling. But I kept saying, if they can do it, then I can.
yeah, absolutely. Wasn't that long ago that like when I finished that London Marathon in 5 hours, and then after that, it was like, oh, I'd love to do a marathon in under 4 hours, but it just seemed like another world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but now I've passed that, and I'm like, well, if I can just focus, if I can just properly focus on that goal, not I mean it's going to be like in the next year. It might be God knows how many years. It might be as I get older, it gets a bit easier as the good for age gets a bit more.
As it
Well,
drops, yes.
I say more obtainable, but then as you get older, things get harder as well. So it's all relative. But yeah, that's the all time goal to say that I've actually qualified for a marathon major to be there on the start line on merit. It would be something that would be my running career goal.
I mean, it was not unfair to say, I don't think you were in really good form on the run up to Edinburgh this year. And then you suffered a very similar occurrence to myself with a knee injury. It was the knee in the end, wasn't it? It wasn't anything else. Like mine was actually the calf that did my knee in, but was yours the knee?
Yeah, so I was getting knee pain, but it was due to a pulling from my IT band and
Right.
kind of glute
Mm-hmm.
issue, which I was getting treatment on. And like, if it was like another week on, it might have been okay. But to be honest, the training I done for Edinburgh, this year's just not been as consistent as it should have been. So like for Edinburgh this year, my long runs were the 20 along the fourth
Mm-hmm.
blast running event, which is fantastic.
That's a great photo of you on that one.
Yeah, anyone that was looking for a 20 mile run for the spring marathons, get involved in that. It's fantastic. And my other long run was the Manchester Marathon.
Just a long
And
run, just a casual long run at Manchester.
I got a chance of a last minute bib and jumped on it. Yeah, so although it was I stepped off because of the pain, like the kind of I hadn't done the long runs, I hadn't put the work in, so I didn't deserve it. Yeah, I think there was a part of me that's because I was ambassador for the race, I felt like I had to show up.
Yeah.
Whereas in truth, I don't think Edinburgh Marathon would have been bothered if I turned up or not. I think I was more there for it was more advertising the race and encouraging people to sign up rather than what I'd done on the day.
Yeah.
And if anyone else was to ask me, like we'd had these conversations beforehand, about because we had the similar injury that
Yeah.
like it's not worth it if you're not feeling it. And that's something done that quite a lot this year. I turned up to races, not in not in the right place for it, whether it's physical or mentally. That's something I need to address and stop doing.
Mhm.
Um,
I can't say anything turning up to races more recently and mentally not being prepared, physically being over prepared, but mentally not being prepared and having to have someone talk me into the right mindset. But no, I actually, it goes to show from your perspective, then you didn't feel like you were on form for a performance at Edinburgh, but then from the outside looking in, even your what you were doing was probably more than what I was doing. So it looked like maybe you were slightly further on than you felt you were.
yeah, it's one of these ones. What is it? Hoping that you can rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Um, whereas the, the saying that I like but don't often use myself is don't rise to the occasion but fall to your training.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and yeah, it just wasn't there
And that
at all.
almost it takes me back there to something you've just mentioned as well to do with your first training program and
Yes.
picking the easiest one that you could find. I think that's actually maybe quite a common thing with marathon runners or people that are starting out in their journey. They don't know what they're doing. So they go, oh, I'm trying to fit this in. So I'll go for this one because it seems the easiest. And then inevitably, like yourself, like I have, like many others have, you suffer as a consequence. Maybe because of that plan, maybe because you didn't go for the plan that would have given you the best overall readiness for that event. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's like I would never um change the way that this year's went in terms of I'm doing my Safe runners as well, and I've got lots of beginners
Mm-hmm.
doing what 30-second intervals, that kind of thing at a really comfortable pace for beginner running, and that's a lot of my volume has been made up for that this year.
Yeah.
Probably so it might look like I've done a lot of miles, but how much of them's actually been the quality miles that I would need for my marathon? No, it's not things like that. So I've tweaked the club a little bit now to be a bit more selfish to myself. I've dropped a night, for example, because I was putting on at one point 9 sessions a week,
Jeez, that's a lot.
which was good because we had to build the community. Because if you just do like one night a week for everyone, then chances are people are just going to turn up that one night and they might not do the other runs that we tell them to do. But I thought we'll all do the 3 runs a week, and then there can be an intermediate group, and then we can have a more social run group as well.
Yeah.
But that obviously it's not sustainable, and I've kind of dropped it down a bit. Uh, but yeah, it's difficult to kind of do that and fit in your own running as well.
I guess that again, I can have a similarity to that myself. And again, it was in the lead up to Edinburgh, and I was helping Chris with his training, and he hasn't run since. That's this slightly disappointing part about it is he
Mhm.
hasn't run since. He did say on the when he was on the get as a guest he was planning to go out, and I haven't seen any evidence of that. And I'm at the point of saying, well, I'm going to start taking you back out again because that's the motivation that he needs. He needs someone there to help him much like your Kilsyth runners. But at the time, I was doing a lot of time and I felt like it was maybe a bit too much because I felt guilty not running with them. But at the same time, I wasn't able to dedicate enough time to myself.
Yeah, because I've been asked because we have so you have people who are going to come, they can go through it all and then drop away. But
Mm-hmm.
there could be a number of reasons. Some people just don't like running. You know what I mean? You can't force people to run if they don't like it. Whether I always try to make it easy, run it nice and easy, chatty, make it sociable. Because a lot of people they don't like running because it's too hard. They're running too hard. Like, strip it back, slow it down, nice and chatty. But I was kind of for a while chasing the people to kind of get them back in. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, you know where we are. We're here. If you need us, we'll keep going and doing what we're doing. But yeah, you could
And
just
if you're
flip it
doing
right.
that, they're not in the right place. If you're forcing them to be there, then it's not right for them.
No, exactly. You can only let people know that you're there for them if they want to come. If
So
not, it's up to them. Just make it the best that we can for the people that are there.
Given how you had that mixture of different events and how you got into running and you've then improved to have more of a structure, how did you fall into that side of community service with the Kilsyth runners?
Well, I'd had ran with the Cumbernauld Jog Scotland group called On the Run. I think it was like 2020 I joined them. Because they're a massive group. Sometimes they can get like 100 runners turning up.
Wow.
So they've got various different leaders and things like that in their group. But Kilsyth, um, obviously where I'm staying, I've seen runners out, but there wasn't really that community or any groups people. And then you see like, for example, see women out running in the summer, but in the winter, everyone disappears. No one likes to go out and run themselves in the dark kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's set up, we can have something for beginners, get them going, but then try and make a wee community for get people know each other, go get some group runs, but then also have that private Facebook group, whatever, to people saying, I'm going out to run tonight. Does anybody else want to come? And get that safety and people feel like they can get out and do their runs together. Um, so I thought let's get that going. And yeah, it's been great. I took a little bit of encouragement because I kind of it's a bit of a commitment to step up and say, right, I'm going to do this. Start a club yourself. But no, I had lots of support, and the Jog Scotland course was great. And yeah, it's just went
Strength to strength.
Yeah, it's still. I keep thinking, oh, I wish we had more numbers, but we are. It's only a year old, only just turned a year. We've had some great successes. As I say, we just need to keep building and let people know we're there. It's difficult for a lot of people still don't know we're there. I've tried doing the Facebook advertisements and stuff like that, but you get people liking it and they stay in London and stuff, and you go, well, this isn't much use. Like, I try to sometimes use like my following on Instagram to kind of grow it and get the word out. So now I'm like kind of tagging the both of them in, and we've got our like Kilsyth runners t-shirts and vests and stuff like that. So when we are out running, people can then see, oh, they look like they're part of a group, which has started to get a bit more interest as well. And
And
seeing as it races and things like that is probably one of the best things.
that's as small as the pool on Instagram seems sometimes of everyone knowing each other. It's still quite a vast ocean of others, and we'll have connections that my connections might not be the same as your connections, and just having that openness to share the message with our own audience, as it would be, it does then help people that are looking for groups to run with or people to run with, and they happen to be in the area and they don't know about you for whatever reason. It does help that as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so with the running then with the community, I'm going to jump onto it slightly further on in our bullet points, because you have seen them for a change. I've given Bob a sight of what's coming up, which I don't often do. But
I don't trust you.
Not many people do, don't worry. With your running group, then, do you find it like richly rewarding? And are there any really kind of proud moments you have? Maybe someone that you didn't expect to be as good at the journey as you might expect them to be at the beginning?
Yeah, I suppose there's quite a few. I liked with our first park run that we done with the beginners. So that was a proper moment, because seeing them all, it's all the kind of race nerves that we would get, that you forget even just turning up at a park run. People that hadn't done 5K before, just seeing how nervous they were getting, and then the elation afterwards when they finished, that kind of buzz that you can sometimes take for granted at these things. So things like that was really good, because people that never thought they'd be able to do 5K, and then they're chatting their way around it. It was fantastic. But ones like Grant that came, he started to come on to our group runs and chatting away about marathons and asking about them. And before I know it, he's signed up for Edinburgh, and he's absolutely smashing it. But it's what the club's done is opened him up to a wider community. So he now runs with like faster people that he's met, which is great. But it gave him the end to what his running is now. So he doesn't run with us as much, but I feel it's great that we kind of brought him into that space. Was really good. And one of the, I suppose it's um my, what's the word I'm looking for? My shining example or my role model is William. So I turned up to the very first session. I met this older gentleman, very polite, doing his 30-second repeats, thanking me very much. That was great. Really enjoyed that. Turned up to every single session, bought into everything that I've been telling him, and he's now done park runs. He's done 10Ks. He's the other night we took him up. There's a very hilly 5 mile route with in the pitch dark with head torches on. He just absolutely buys into everything, and I think that in the next year, I think he'll be in half marathon shape, which is fantastic. But it's just the way I'd never have thought when we first met that that was the way it was going to go. So it's just there's so many. It's just when people come in and they buy into it, and it's just the wee bit when they start getting about the running, and you don't have to, like some people with the 30-second repeats thinks you need to run as fast as you can. For example, do you know what I mean? It's just nice and easy, chatty pace, and then just build that aerobic engine. And no, it's fantastic. There's so many people that's just come in and out and what they get out of it. Some people don't want to do 5Ks, they just want to come up and they can just do a wee 15-minute run and chat to their pal on the way home, and that's what they get out of it, and then fantastic. Yeah, it's just giving them, it's their running club, it's whatever they want it to be. And it's yeah, I'm quite proud that I've kind of made that for them.
After I've asked that question, I kind of feel a bit daft now because at the end of the day, you wouldn't be doing it if you weren't proud of what the people are doing and everything that you're getting out of it. But it does sound, it's like almost like a teacher seeing a pupil do well. Like you are a teacher, you are teaching them the fundamentals of form and how to do things without blowing up.
Yeah,
That sounds great.
don't get me wrong. There's some Saturday mornings when I wake up and I look outside and it's pouring the rain, and I need to go up to the track with a whistle and put them through a track session, and I'm like, oh. But once I'm there and I see the effort they put in, and I start working with them, and it's always worth it. They always make it worth my while. It's great.
If they're turning up, then they're committed. Then they're
Yes,
committed.
exactly.
So, do you have any kind of fundamental tips in that you would that you give to the people that are turning up, or that you could share with the listeners that are maybe early on in their running and maybe in a similar position as to some of your squad members are? And
Yeah, it's just slow down. It's the whole easy runs easy. People, I don't know why everyone wants. Well, we've all done it when you go out and you want to run the fastest you can. Um, In fact, I seen something on a Facebook group recently, and it was somebody was asking about improvements, and someone posted up saying that they go out and they run as hard as they can for a time, and then the next time they go out and they try and run as hard again and see if they can go further. And I'm like, oh my days, it's like we've kind of progressed since that, mate. It's like I'll see you next week when you're on asking for injury tips and how did you get over this injury.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just slow down and build up that base. Whether it's heart rate, whether it's fuel. Um, if you can't get a conversation out, if you can't be talking, you're running too fast, slow it down. So that's why we try to make them nice and chatty. And before they know it, you could be running for 15 minutes, but they've chatted and they don't realize they're running for 15 minutes. So you make it more enjoyable. Um, yeah, that's the keep your easy ones easy. And then you just need to be consistent. We've had people that they've been doing their 3 times a week. Maybe too easy, and then maybe had the track session at the weekend, but then they start missing and only doing turning up once a week, and then they wonder why their fitness is going or why everything feels harder. And it's you need to be consistent. Even if your motivation drops, you still need to be disciplined, and that's something that I've need to be telling myself this year as well. That's you need to be consistently putting in the work. You can't just dip in and out and reset and start again. And yeah, just easy runs and consistency.
that's great. It's something that I learned the hard way, and you do see more of it now on stories likes of Ian. I wouldn't say preaching because it sounds like it's taken the wrong way, but zone 2, you're right, easy runs, and they helped me so much on the build up to Amsterdam. And I used to go out and I used to try and set a PB every day. It's kind of similar to a question then that Al personal best had not so long ago, and he was asking in his stories how do I progress my 5K time, because he was always trying to give it his max effort, and it seemed to be falling just slightly short. But since he slowed it down, since he started going to the track, just zone two, like you say, easy effort, and then come race day, you're like a coiled spring ready to go.
Yeah. Plus, like, looking at Al's um, Instagram and things, and he was every Saturday he was like trying to PB at the
Mm,
park run. It's like if you're really hammering that and your heart rate's up and the load you're putting on your body, you're going to take a while to recover from that.
yeah,
So you're
yeah.
kind of eating into your training week as well. Do you know what I mean? So if you just keep it easy or use your park run for maybe if it's an easy run or a session, it doesn't have to be a full blown 5K effort. Um, and then just get to a space a couple of weeks down the road and say, right, now we'll have another crack at it. They'll put in a wee bit of a training block, and you can't race it every week.
So what you're saying is, in Garmin terms, you've had a rubbish sleep, take an easy run, an easy effort, recovery effort.
Yeah, but I say something sweary to Garmin when it's telling me that in the morning.
Yeah, I almost swore then. I could do it. You can swear if you want, but no, it is a long old journey to kind of get that mental kind of um, knowledge to know that not every effort has to be full blown effort. So that's great to kind of have that take from someone who's taking new beginners out and instilling that fundamental take it easy, breathe and chat.
Yeah. Plus with 5K, that I think a lot of people don't, even though they're training for 5K, you can do a long run at the weekend as well. You
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be limited at 5K. A lot of 5K athletes they will go out and do, I'm not saying this for beginners, but they'll still go out and do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of different methods of doing it.
It's increasing your range, your endurance, your capability.
Yeah, don't do what I do and then start training for a 5K, then quickly switch it up to a marathon because it all seems too hard. And then
And
one time
5K
I five,
seems too short as well.
oh, they're horrible. They are horrible.
Do you think
It's,
that's maybe why Ryan's sticking to longer distances now instead of going back to becoming a 5K athlete?
no, I think he's a 5K athlete. I think that's where enjoyment is. Um, but it's a bizarre distance. I done it was Strathclyde Park Run. Must be about a month ago, and I done it as a progression run, and ran my second fastest 5K. I was like, oh, I wish I got a bit more greedy, and I'm like, oh, there's no point getting the PB at a park run. I would rather get it at a race. Well, you can't call park runs races, but they don't like it.
I'm in the opposite camp there, Bob. I would rather go down and beast it at a park run because I feel like I get a pat on the back at the end. Whereas if I'm at a race, I'm on my own usually.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's not that many 5K races that I can
No, there's not.
see.
No, no.
I know Blast Running do one. I'm actually thinking about going to one. It's the 19th of December. So it's a Tuesday lunchtime in Edinburgh. That Cat puts it on. But there's some good fast running. It's a good range of people that go, but it does feel like you're racing and you can get caught up. If you know what you're running, get caught up with people and get dragged along. It's quite good rather than just try to do time trials yourself,
Mhm.
which are
Yeah.
tough, especially in things like 5Ks and 10Ks. If you try to do a single time trial on your own, that's a mental one as well as physical.
Pushing yourself. Yeah. That's something I find the
Absolutely.
hardest is pushing myself. And that's why I'll wait to go to parkrun on the first weekend of the month because that's Pacer Week. I don't know if it's Pacer Week for every parkrun, but it certainly is at my local. So they're keen to get me down in the alpha, not alphas, the vapors. I'll need to get myself some alphas in the vapors, but it's not a tar. It's not a tar course. I'm reluctant to take them down and see what I can do on that course because I don't want to ruin my shoes.
No, don't ruin them for
The
a
sakes of a
parkrun.
5K time.
No.
I've
See,
got to get the half
I've
marathon out of the
got
way first.
I've got an old pair of vapors that I'll wear on trail races and stuff like that if it's not too technical. Um, Yeah, but the prices are, it depends where you look, because it's like Ian shares sometimes if he sees some bargains on sports shoes and stuff like that, you can get the prices of some of these shoes are coming down now. That they're on par with some of the newer like Pegasus coming out and things like that, and you can get a pair
Mhm.
of Vaporflies for the same price. It's
That's certainly
uh,
where I got mine because Ian had put up his story and it was fantastic. I grabbed a pair and I know Ryan actually grabbed a pair at the same sale. So I asked what your proudest moment with the community was. Um, let's aim that question directly at you now. Proudest self-running moment so far?
so I had to think about this, and I think it's possibly like the Glasgow 10K this year. Um, so it was a PB, but it wasn't about that. It was the day experience and the community side of it. So meeting so many runners like beforehand and chatting, and then all the race nerves and that were away. It was just a good laugh. Going then taking that and racing really strong. Loads of cheer squads and stuff that actually shouting your name, knowing who you are. It just spurs you on so much. Then afterwards, cheering on the women's 10K. Then I had a bit of a meet up and stuff like that. I just felt like I was really part of something.
Yeah.
Um, like not just like on the Instagram, it was like this is like proper in-person people that are really invested in you and you're invested in them and we're all cheering each other on. That had me on a buzz for quite a while. Probably not my best race performance, even though it was a 10K PB. I don't think it was my strongest race performance. But in terms of experience, I think that's definitely got to be up there.
What is it to coin the phrase? Is it people make Glasgow? And it's exactly the same as what you're saying there. That was the same weekend or the Sunday after Mike had run the wall, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that was the first time I'd met him actually, was afterwards.
Yeah, he got ambushed and brought to a room full of people.
Yeah, he could have walked in. I think he got a cheer and he didn't know where to look or what to do with himself.
I know.
It's great. I love seeing people scrumming like that.
No, it's a great little group, and it's ever growing. And I think that's fundamentally because of people like yourself and people like Ryan that are making it more approachable for running and approachable as a community rather than just giving each other kudos online and just saying, "Oh, well done on your run," and that's it. It's giving people that confidence of happy, friendly, nice people to be around, and then giving each other support at races like the 10K.
Yeah, it's a funny one with the running community because I get quite at times I can get bad social anxiety to like not turning up to things and what have you. But it doesn't seem to happen as much with the running community. Um, I'm actually quite keen to get out there and when I can and run with people and meet them. Whereas I think it's more sometimes if it's like a night out event, things like that, I'm kind of more don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to do this. And then I get the flip side of it as well. I'm kind of then get anxiety if I'm not invited to things. So I don't know. I think that's just me.
No, I'm in exactly the same boat. I'm in exactly the same boat as you. If it's a work thing or if it's friends, and sometimes I don't want to go, but then you feel left out if they don't invite you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
People are rage, Bob. That's what it is. It's the way that it's the way that society's raised us.
yeah.
Um,
Can I put on a front as if you're just a grumpy old man when really you've just got the same kind of anxieties and things like that as you did when you were younger? Yeah,
yeah.
but doesn't seem to happen with the running community. They just seem so supportive. Plus, it's going along to support other people as well.
Mhm.
Um, oh, that's fantastic.
So with that in mind, and uh, next year fast approaching, do you have anything in mind race wise for yourself or with the wider community, the blast events as you've mentioned them, and you did meet up with a few people there as well. The 20. I don't know on the day whether you'd met Geese and Kaylee, but I know they were there because all
Yeah.
this is fantastic photos of you all coming across. Um, what's next on for you, and then also meeting up with the community?
Well, I suppose the big thing for me, um, maybe stop turning up to events not prepared. That's what my big goal. Because it's not doing me any favours. It's not doing me any favours physically because it's kind of leading to other physical issues or niggling injuries that I'm not addressing by just turning up. And also when you're like, I don't know, I think I've DNF'd possibly 3 times this year.
Certainly, Edinburgh. It was really really good to meet you, but then at the same time, I was so disappointed for you when we got to about it was about halfway and seeing you walking back.
Yeah, that was I had to walk like 8 miles back. That was ridiculous. I should have chucked it earlier. But it was good supporting everyone on the way. It was actually quite good to see everybody cheering. But when I got to the finish line, the finishing straight, and having to walk back the other side of the fence, that was a tough bit. Don't want to do that again. But then it's the whole mental setback. I kind of beat myself up. But was I injured? Was I just mentally weak? All these kind of questions you start asking of yourself. So yeah, let's not be turning up to start lines when I'm not ready. Would be a big thing. And I suppose that leads on to another thing about less talking and more action. I kind of feel like this year I've been talking a lot about and I know what to do, but I'm not actually doing it. So I suppose that's why I'm kind of moving on now to my new coach, and taking a holistic view of it. So I'll be like looking at strength work, I'll be looking at my running, I'll be looking at nutrition, looking at the mental side of it as well. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Um, what else? In terms of races, I don't want to sign up to too much until I'd spoke to my coach. So I don't want to ask her to build me up, and then she's got no time to work with me because I've got a race every week. So that'd be unfair. But I've got I don't know if you've heard of the 105 track series.
Can't say that I have, but I'll look it up.
So I've got in January, it's a 10K at the track. And then in February, it's a half marathon at the track. And then that finishes in March with a full marathon on the track, 105 laps or 105 and a half laps.
Wow. Now you've mentioned it. Maybe it has been mentioned on the press play and run. Maybe someone's mentioned that in the past. It does sound familiar now you've said it.
Yeah, Alison Jardins,
She did it, yeah.
she done the half and the 10K last year, but this year she's doing the full series. It's her fault that I've signed up for it, actually. Um, but yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting one because I've done sessions on the track before, and it's not till you're finished that you realise you've done like 12 miles on the track, but you don't think of it because you're just living within the reps and just doing your session. You don't actually think of the distance or how many laps you're doing. So that'd be an interesting one.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm in the ballot for Berlin, um, which is drawn in December time. So wait and see. But I think regardless if I get in that or not, I do feel like I'll need to do a city marathon next year at some point, whether that'll be spring, whether I go back for Edinburgh or not.
I don't
Or
think you can really classify Edinburgh as a city marathon.
no, I'm not an ambassador now, so like I say, it sounds like city.
Yes.
Um, I've yeah, I don't know where to start moaning about Edinburgh Marathon. It's more the potential of Edinburgh Marathon when you look to the likes of Manchester. Like Manchester Marathon, go big. I think they've got eyes on we want to be the best marathon in the UK. They know London's there, but they're like, we want to go and we'll work with Adidas and we'll get all sorts of advertising in that. Edinburgh don't seem to be doing anything like that. Doesn't seem to be anything there. Is there even Pacers at Edinburgh? I don't think there was.
No, I can't say that I saw any other than myself for an individual basis. I mean, even not having an expo is such a missed opportunity there.
There's so much they could do. There's so much they could do. Just that, in my opinion, I think there's a lot more they could be doing.
So would you
Um,
then go back to Manchester
I,
potentially?
I would go back to Manchester. Don't know, would I go back next year? Possibly not. That's my last 2 marathons I've actually finished. I've been Manchester. Um, so I probably need to let that lie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like my Manchester, I keep saying last year, it was this year.
That's
I done
almost
it.
the end of the year.
Yeah, I thought I'd just do it as a training run, and I was actually on for a PB at the time, but then it was got to about mile 2021, and I had to go and visit the toilets, which was, I really did not want to. I was like, if I open this toilet door, that's my PB out the window. It's like, oh, but yeah, needs must, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the first time, hopefully the only time I'll have to use a portaloo in a marathon. But I know you had quite a few visits in your Edinburgh. But
Yeah, every stop at Edinburgh. Luckily, Amsterdam, it was before I even crossed the start line. I made that not rookie decision. I went and did that, and I didn't have any more difficulty then. I don't think I saw another Portaloo all the way around. They were there, but I was just so focused. So I'm glad I didn't have to visit them.
Rather. Well, see, I wasn't too bad. This one was actually in the middle of nowhere. I'm so thankful it was there. Um, but yeah, some of them there's people queuing, and I'm like, I would not like to queue for a toilet in the middle of a marathon. That would just destroy me.
And it cools you down so much. So what you're effectively saying now is it's all up in the air with which one. Fingers crossed for Berlin, and it's the same with Lee. Control Alt Delete is in the ballot as well.
Yeah,
So fingers crossed for everyone that's in it, because it does look like a fantastic event, and it would be phenomenal to run, not just because it's a major, but because of where it is and what's happening there year on year with trying to push the boundaries of what's possible with marathon running.
yeah. It's a fantastic fast course. As you said, it's all the elite big runners go there wanting to break records, and yeah, that'd be fantastic to go there. But as I say, I want to. I've got my big goals of um, well, let's get closer, as close to as I can to the 3 hours, and then see what can happen. But I might speak to my coach, and she might say, right, well, forget about marathon just now, and we'll concentrate on your 10K time or your half marathon time, and we'll get that down before we look at marathon again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just have to say, well, okay, that's what we'll do, because otherwise, what are you seeking their advice for?
Yeah, exactly. Build it
But
back up again, maybe.
yeah, I think so. I think it'll be let's get some speed back in the legs, which I was trying to do. I think I had said I was going to try and go sub 20 on the 5K before the end of the year. But then I just kept farting about with my runner coach and kept chopping and changing what I was doing. That's why I had to just say, no, put it away. We need somebody proper to discipline you and keep you on the straight and narrow, because I'm like a child with that app.
Yeah. It's so easy. It's so easy to kind of chop and change that when you do have the flexibility to do it and you don't have someone cracking the whip. And you by the sounds of it, you're the same as me. If you're paying for someone's expertise, you would feel guilty if you then weren't doing what they were asking you to do.
Yeah.
What's the point in otherwise?
Well, that's where all my big improvements came from. When I don't know if you know Matt Rees, the Welsh runner.
Uh, Again, I probably follow them or know of them, but at the moment,
Yeah,
not,
so
no.
Matt's the famous the London Marathon video where the runners on the final straight having a bad time, and the one of the runners stops to help him
Okay.
along.
Yeah.
So that was Matt. So he coached me for the best part of 2 years. And he got my fitness up absolutely fantastically. Again, it was consistency, it was volume, it was proper easy runs instead of let's stop running for Strava. Stop saying, oh, this was an easy run when your heart rate says otherwise. And then targeted speed sessions. And then, as you say, that accountability. But then part of the reason I stopped is because I was becoming less accountable for it.
It's a
Uh,
slippery slope, isn't it?
Aye, absolutely. It is. So I thought if I'm paying for someone and I can't be accountable, I can't turn up and not just get your money's worth, but you want to get the value out of it. I was missing too many runs with work and family and things, so I said I'll need to step away because I was trying to start the Side runners as well, and I thought that was going to be too difficult to. How would I explain to my coach that I've got? Right, this is your training you're giving me, but I'm also going to put on 9 other sessions a week.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what are you talking about? What's going on here?
Yeah. But
So
you'll still be turning up probably at the key main events in and around you. I know you've got a lot of events in close proximity, but potentially back at the Glasgow 10, and then the later events in the year, maybe the half marathon, those sorts of things.
yeah, so the Glasgow 10 definitely. That was just a fantastic day. I was actually really surprised at how good that was. There's a lot of these races, nothing against them, but you get kind of fun run vibes off them.
Yeah,
Um, which a lot of them, I always joke that anything that involves Glasgow Green 10K ends up it's like 9.6 miles and all that kind of thing. It's like people saying, "Oh yeah, but it was still good fun," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you put your training in for a 10K. You want to get your 10K like your proper. If you're racing for it, you want your time and you want a legit race." Edinburgh, if I don't do the full marathon, there's a good chance I could maybe do the half. I've been toying with that idea. Um, that's again on the same day. You could do the half and then do a couple hours of cheer squad.
yeah,
Um,
that's certainly what happened this year with the main crew, and not only this podcast's cheer squad, but also in Ryan's as well. They
yeah,
ran the half, and then they were there to support everyone, which was fantastic.
yeah. Because I met a lot of them. Well, so you know what you why are you here? Um, and then having to explain to them what's going on. But
Yeah. So I mean, we'll just have to again watch the space and see what really comes of 2024. As the year kind of closes though, and the calendar starts opening a bit more, I'm sure we'll see people signing up for X, Y, and Z anyway. So you'll be no different. So
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
just hoping I might be able to get into a few events down your way. But I always feel that if it's not half marathon or slightly longer, it's a long way to come just for a 10K.
Aye, absolutely. Unless it was a proper fast route, I
Yeah,
suppose it'd be
yeah,
worth it. For a 10K.
yeah.
5K, it's a bit of a you can't really justify that
No,
journey, I
no.
don't think, unless you were doing something else at the time.
There's potential of coming down for another gig like we did this year, and I didn't let anyone know. I think it was maybe poo pooed a little bit because I did keep it quiet, and I ended up only running with Nikki at
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
local park runs. But this year, if like this year coming, if we do come down for this concert, if we do end up getting tickets, I'll make more of an announcement in advance to potentially go to one of these nicer park runs, other park runs. I would love to go to, you mentioned it already, your progression run, Strathclyde Park.
Strathclyde Park,
Yeah, I would
yeah.
love to go to Strathclyde Park. So I used to live on the kind of periphery, and it'd be nice to visit it again. So there's
Bring your fast shoes
potentials.
that day.
Yeah, I'll bring down the vapors, and but just like you said, with the 10K having such a widespread number of people that are in the community there, and those that aren't maybe running will be volunteering and having that cheer squad. So no, hopefully we'll be able to catch up in 2024. I know we briefly met this year, but it was the briefest of meetings. But yeah, before I thank you for being a guest, though, and I hope you gave it some thought on this one because you've already given me one person. But is there anyone you would like to shout out to potentially hear as a future guest themselves?
Oh, well, I think we spoke about getting David Wright after
Uh,
his 10K win in Edinburgh.
I can confirm he is coming on.
Excellent.
He signed up.
So I was really interested to hear how he went from, I think the last time he ran that race, he ran it in the 40s and then he's went away and built up and trained hard and then he comes back and wins it. Is unreal. But he's doing all sorts of great things with kids for running and his own coaching stuff. So it'd be
Yeah,
fantastic to hear from him. We've talked about as well, Ian. He's doing lots of community type runs. He's his Instagram's it's quite an educating place as well. In terms of his like try to get the word out about easy running. He's doing lots of stuff for his cross training and things like that. It'd be good to hear from him. Likes of you mentioned Lee.
hmm
You talk about Lee quite a lot. I've met Lee briefly, but it'd be good to hear more about his story, his running history. I know he's very supportive on Instagram, but good to hear more from him. Kind of lesser known names. I've got Jim Glennie, which you might not have heard of. He's helped a lot of runners in North Lanarkshire over the years, and last year he received a Jog Scotland Award for achievement. Very supportive guy. Been running for a long time at all different levels, so it'd be good to hear from him. And there's likes of, I don't know, Jace, the Edinburgh runner you could get on, but he'd probably just spend an hour talking about how awesome I am. So I don't know if people would want to hear from him.
I mean, that's those sorts of names. That's the ones I'm glad to hear you say, because they're the sorts of people that if I was to reach out to them, they're so humble with where they've come from, what they're doing, that they would say, "Well, nobody wants to hear from me." And it's the same with, I'm going to say his name because if anyone follows him and just give him that reassurance, Carl Orm. He does a lot of mental health talks, and he's been on other podcasts talking about mental health. But I asked him to come on to talk about running from his perspective because of all the insane things he's done. And he's so humble that nobody wants to hear about that. These are the people that I think people do want to hear from. They're everyday runners doing phenomenal things and doing phenomenal things for the community. So it really puts the ball in their court now that you've said that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember when I was first asked to go on a podcast, I was like, "Oh, why are they asking me?" And it's the whole, I hate the term, but imposter syndrome and that carry on. But then it's like, over yourself. It's the same. You're talking to the same people that you talk to daily on Instagram and things like that, and you're supporting them. They're supporting you. You just come on for a chat that we would just have a normal chat anyway. That's how you got to view it, and it'd be good to hear from these other people because you only have like on Instagram or whatever. You're only chatting. Good race. How did that go? That kind of thing. It'd be good to actually sit down and listen to a bit more to learn about them and get to know about them. It'd be fantastic.
Well, there we go, guys. Like that's the ball in your court. You let me know if you want to come on, because Bob wants to hear you, and I'm pretty sure other people will too. That's been spot on, Bob. I think I've taken up enough of your evening now, though. But it's been really chill. I think that's probably been one of the most relaxed chats I've had with anyone. But it's been fantastic to hear where you've come from, and it's even better to hear where you're going and the mindset that you've got.
No, thanks for having me. I think I'm up the stairs in the office and it's kind of dim light, so I don't know if I'm probably too chilled out at the end of the day. If you'd have caught me this morning after a few coffees, I'd have been buzzing through it all. But no, it's been good to chat. Good to catch up.
Well, we'll certainly have you back in the future once you're sorted with your coach, once you know more about what's happening in 24 and beyond. We'll get you back on and we'll talk about the goals.
Excellent. Hopefully I want to talk about some PBs.
What a lovely, chill guy Bob is. I could have literally spoken to him for hours. If it wasn't that I was feeling pretty guilty taking up more of the man's time, especially when his daughter delivered water to him after the length of time I'd taken him away from his family, it could have been a whole nighter. Bob also provided some great shout outs and challenges there. Before anyone goes hounding Carl, I can confirm that he has since agreed to come on and speak with me in a future series. But for anyone else mentioned by Bob, get in their DMs and make it known to them that you want to hear them on the show in the future. Let's make these happen. Personally, I've learned a lot from Bob over the past year. Having been a trading post for pre-Edinburgh injury chats, motivation throughout the year, and constant cheer squad on everything that I've had going on. Keep being an absolute inspiration, Bob, and the legend of the community that you are. Let's start drawing things to a close, though, and learn who will be joining us in the penultimate episode, episode 9. I'm delighted to announce that we will be gaining a slightly different perspective on running events as we welcome Heather Ruff to the show. the saint who puts up with Mike Houston's ultra marathon lifestyle. We'll be learning what it takes to successfully support crew, not only at ultra marathon partner, but a whole squad of runners at times, but also finding out about Heather's own tentative steps into running and eventing. I'm 100% looking forward to sharing more about Heather and a slightly different take on the running community. If, however, you want to get in contact between now and then, you can do so by dropping us an email at thepoint99podcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can hop over to our website where I've actually just tarted things up a little bit, added some colour and an extra bit of flair. That's, of course, thepoint99podcast.com, and you'll find a contact form there if you want to use that. If neither of those float your boat, however, you can find me at Facebook by searching the Point 99 Podcast, or on Instagram by doing the same. You can also slide into my DMs at either the Point 99 Podcast or Mr_Steve_runs. And that, as they say, is that. Join me next week as we look to bring the season 1 week closer to a close. Until then, however, no matter what you get up to, I hope you stay safe, enjoy your runs, and you will hear from me soon.